Hello and welcome back to Matte's Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup. Today we got plenty to go through with news from the last couple of days, with Harry Winks apparently looking to leave Spurs and the latest on Steven Bergwijn, who could also be on his way out of the club. We also have some quotes from Antonio Conte to look at with regards to what he wants and is expecting over the summer transfer window. We'll also look back on that draw with Liverpool last night. Before we do dive into that, let's welcome a few people into the chat. We got Dara, who has said that poll is too hard to answer. If you could tell the future, it will be fine. So there is a poll there in the live chat. Anyone who does want to vote, I'm thinking of doing a watch along for the Arsenal and Leeds game at 2:00 now. Of course, whether or not that'll be a fun watch along will depend on the result of that one. As Dara says, if we could tell the future, it will be fine, but of course we can't. So please do let me know in the poll if you want to do that. We got Tony Young in the live chat as well. Robin says, are you doing a watch along for Arsenal? That'll be down to the poll. I think if we have more than 70% of people who vote that want to do it, we'll go ahead with it there. Josh has given me some hope, Maddie. Leeds prediction. I'm expecting Arsenal to win. I'm not going to lie about that. But anything can happen. Absolutely anything can happen, and that's the joy of Premier League football at the moment. But look, we'll discuss that later in the stream when we have some votes in on that one. But we will go ahead and get started with the transfer content and with some quotes from Antonio Conte talking about the type of player that he could potentially want Tottenham to sign this summer. He has said, when there is an important player, it is important to try to sign him. A top player will improve your team and the quality of your squad. If you want to win something, for sure you need players at the top, not medium level players. So I think he's very much looking at the transfer structure, the transfer strategy that Spurs have had in the last couple of years, which has been identifying a top player, a brilliant player, the perfect player, maybe negotiating for him a little bit, but ultimately ending up going down and getting a lesser version of the same player. So a player of a similar quality, or of a similar style, but less quality and cheaper. Antonio Conte does not want that. And Spurs, if we want to keep him in the job, we'll have to change that strategy, and we will have to go with the players that Conte identifies, and those top players, as he's mentioning there. He said as well, if you have time, passion, and a lot of money to invest, you can try to become competitive and to fight against these monsters. Of course, talking about Manchester City and Liverpool right at the top of that Premier League tree. And I've said it quite a bit that I think in typical Tottenham fashion, we've gotten the perfect manager at the worst time, because Conte goes to teams, Conte wins league titles. He's done it everywhere. He's been at Juventus, at Chelsea and Inter Milan. It seems extremely unlikely that it'll happen at Tottenham because of the ceiling of the top two teams in the league. I mean, if he'd been here 3 or 4 years ago when we were competing for league titles against Chelsea and against Leicester, because the rest of the teams in the league were so inconsistent, there was a slight chance that we could have gone and won a league title. But with the way Klopp and Guardiola's teams are now, it looks extremely unlikely that will happen. Finally, Conte also said, to reduce this gap, you need to spend a lot of money because you need to buy important players. You have to know this, otherwise you cannot reduce this gap and hope always for a miracle. And very similar to, I think, some of the quotes that Mauricio Pochettino was putting out there at the end of his time at Spurs, when he was talking about how we've built the perfect house and now we need to just put the furniture in it, and we never did furnish the house. And I think that is why we've had such a tumultuous couple of years with Nuno Espirito Santo, with Ryan Mason, with Jose Mourinho, and trying to find a bit more stability and get back into that position that we were under Pochettino when things were going very well for us. A lot of luck played a part in what we did achieve under Pochettino. It's not going to happen again. We need to get those top players in, and Antonio Conte isn't pulling any punches, and he's certainly not beating around the bushes. He's letting everybody know exactly what he thinks and letting us know exactly what he's saying to the board, and that's important. And I kind of get frustrated when he comes out and he's this honest and this critical of the players in the team, because ultimately they're the 11 men that will be going out on the football pitch to get a result for us. I think whether he's happy with them or not, he needs to. He needs to keep them happy, because they're the ones that will be on the pitch trying to get results for us. But with the board, he's not pulling any punches, and I absolutely love to see it. And it's putting Daniel Levy in a position that I think Daniel Levy knew he would have ended up in. When you appoint Antonio Conte, you know what he's going to be like and you know what he's going to say. And I think Daniel Levy, in some respect, made that appointment to, I suppose, to challenge himself, because he knows that if things do go wrong, if we don't get the players that we want this summer and Conte leaves, the entire burden of that failure is on Daniel Levy and on the board. So I think Daniel Levy did this, even if it was to kind of force himself into a more positive approach in the transfer window. Who knows? Michael Patrick has been speaking about Antonio Conte, and he said that Conte has told Tottenham he can be their Jurgen Klopp if he is properly backed, but warns that to compete with Liverpool, they will have to, again, quote, spend a lot of money or hope for a miracle. So I think, looking at that, Conte, if it is true, of course, that he could be or Jurgen Klopp, maybe he is looking at a long-term stay at Spurs. It's not typical Conte. When things aren't going his way or when he's not getting what he wants from the club, he walks. And that is absolutely a risk that is there for Tottenham this summer. But if he's talking about that, if he's saying he can be or Jurgen Klopp, he is maybe looking at a long-term stay at Spurs. And ultimately, if he wants to get us into a position where we're going to be challenging for league titles, for two reasons, that will have to be long-term. First of all, because we're a long way away from that level. But secondly, because we'll kind of need Liverpool and City to come back down a bit. And whether that is with eventual departures of Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola, who knows? But long-term Conte at Spurs is the absolute dream. It's absolutely what we all want. But whether or not we'll get it, we'll have to wait and see. Slim Boy says, good work, Matt, keep it up, thank you very much. And Welsh Gal, good to see you in the live chat as well. We got Niall, the hottest Spur, Paul Thomas, Adam, Holly, great to see you, and Ryan as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Conte has also said, I think he was asked about that Jurgen Klopp kind of comparison to him at Spurs, and he said, I don't know, but if I was sure that type of situation could happen, I'd sign a new contract. So if he was sure that we could go on and win the league, win the Champions League, and have a team at the level of Liverpool, of course he'd sign that contract. It's a no-brainer. But him making a kind of light of that headline. Finally, before we go into specific players, Matt Law has also said that Antonio Conte wants Tottenham to make 6 to 8 signings this summer. Now, my only kind of worry with that report is that he said Antonio Conte is set to tell Tottenham that he wants 6 to 8 signings. And for me, if Matt Law knows Tottenham's transfer plans before Daniel Levy or before Fabio Paratici, I'd have to wager that that's just speculation and there's really not much to it. Or it is just him saying kind of what we already know, that Tottenham there will be a lot of incomings and outgoings at Spurs this summer. There's going to be, as we get on to later, 6, 7, 8 players that will be not just open to leave, but will actively the club will be looking for a move for them. And of course, you have to replace them. And we will have the extra budget on top of that to bring players in too. And Matt Law, in typical Matt Law fashion, is still talking about a potential Conte departure. And he says Graham Potter is emerging as Tottenham's top target. If Antonio Conte leaves at the end of the season, Spurs will have to pay over £10 million to Brighton. And to be honest, I've changed my mind on Potter at Spurs. Let's start this by saying I don't think Conte's leaving. I don't want Conte to leave. I think Conte will be the manager, and I'd be happy for that at the start of the next season. But if it did come into a situation where we were looking for a new manager, I think the extra year of experience in the Premier League has done Graham Potter fantastically. And well, again, Brighton haven't really been able to get the results that their football warrants. The quality of football is there, and if he brings that into Tottenham with players like Kane, Son, Kulusevski, we will score more goals. And we're talking about this Brighton team not really being able to score much, and they put 4 past Man United yesterday. So Potter isn't the worst option, but again, hopefully, and I do think it will be Antonio Conte. Nicholas and Bertie, good to see you in the live chat as well. Right, on incomings, and one that I feel will be mentioned in every stream that we do this summer is Christian Eriksen. And Matt Law has also been speaking on the future of the Dane, and he said that Christian Eriksen is seriously considering extending his stay at Brentford despite interest from Tottenham. And I think Fabrizio Romano was the one who said maybe last week, that there were 3 Premier League teams looking to sign Christian Eriksen. We know from George Bannister that it's a deal that Tottenham will absolutely pursue this summer, with Eriksen, of course, having his best times, his best part of his career at Spurs, and winning his most recent league title under Antonio Conte at Inter Milan. It seems a match made in heaven. I personally have reservations about whether or not, from a footballing point of view, that it would be a beneficial move for Tottenham, but I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want to see Christian Eriksen back in a Spurs jersey, because I absolutely do, and I think a lot of Spurs fans feel the same about that as well. We got Paul Markey with the €5 super chat. Paul, thanks a million for that. I really do appreciate it. It says, listening to Conte, post-match patience and time points for me. He wants to stay and build the team. Levy, get the checkbook out. And look, I absolutely agree. I think the outburst and the almost meltdown that we saw from Antonio Conte after that game against Burnley, I think was exaggerated and was a bit of an act. But I also think the reaction to it showed him, first of all, that he may not get away with it as much at this club as he would at other clubs, but also I think the passion that was in the fan base and the passion around that whole game, and the way there were a lot of Spurs fans agreeing with every word that he said. I think he knows that there is a desire and there is a passion at this club to especially within the fan base, maybe within the club as well, but to fully 100% commit to what he's doing. And I remember speaking to Giuseppe, a Juventus fan, G Just Juve on YouTube, when Conte and Paratici came in, and he made the point that Conte doesn't fall in love with clubs. You know, it's about him being successful and him getting what he wants. And if at any moment that goes wrong, like I mentioned, he will walk. I mean, he did it at Inter Milan. He didn't fall in love with the club after winning the league title, and because he wasn't getting his transfers, he left. We still need to be wary of that he's not going to fall in love with Tottenham, and he will at every moment put himself before the club. But when his priorities and when the things that matter most to him is winning while he's at our football club, I absolutely hope he puts himself first, because he will do whatever it takes to lift a trophy and to win every game and to be the better team in every 90 minutes that team is on the pitch. So I really do agree with that, Paul. The patience and time, he knows what he has to do to get to that point. And I think he's very much willing to do that. And again, leaving get the checkbook out is absolutely crucial. It's absolutely crucial. David Holland, good to see you. Tony as well, thank you for the love. Another player that it seems likely Tottenham will sign, it's gone a bit quiet in this front in the last couple of weeks, but it is Sam Johnston, the West Bromwich Albion goalkeeper. And I usually wouldn't report from this source, the Daily Mirror, but because what we've heard on this player, it seems fairly likely that this is true. And the Daily Mirror are now also saying that Tottenham are now in pole position to land West Brom goalkeeper Sam Johnston on a free transfer this summer. Again, brilliant signing. He's 29 years of age. He wants Premier League. He wants to play in the Premier League. He deserves to play in the Premier League. And as far as a backup goalkeeper goes, he's a lot better than Pierluigi Collini, and he helps with that homegrown quota. As much as we don't want to talk about the homegrown quota, it matters, and a backup goalkeeper, I've always said, is a very good place to have that. So Sam Johnston, I hope that move happens. And look, another move that I hope happens is the one in the thumbnail. It's the one in the title, and it is regarding the future of Harry Winks. And Dan Kilpatrick has reported in the last couple of days that Harry Winks is likely to push for a summer exit from Spurs, with Conte understood to want a new midfielder in the Jorginho mould. And I think I kind of expected this last summer for Harry Winks to push for a move away, because he's a player that we all wanted to succeed at Tottenham. He's Spurs. He's Spurs through and through. He came up through the youth academy. There's pictures of him as a child at all the games. I think he was a ball boy for a while. He came in, made his Premier League debut, and he scored in that victory against West Ham. And he was kind of for a while exactly what we wanted our club to be. That young English player coming through, getting the game time, being trusted in the big games, brilliant performances in the Champions League against Real Madrid. But that injury at Turf Moor, I think it was the end of that Champions League season, he hasn't really been the same since. And I think that injury did play a part, but I also feel he may have been overperforming like a lot of the players were in that team at the time. And I think he's finding his level, and unfortunately that level just isn't good enough to play for Tottenham. And with the fact that he hasn't started a game in so long, has he even started any game under Antonio Conte? Not that I can remember, or maybe the home game against Liverpool. But the fact that he's one of those players who is on the bench every week, and then Conte comes out with that quote last week when he says, I look at the bench to see what I can change, and I look back to the pitch, effectively saying there's nothing on the bench that he thinks can help Tottenham turn a game around. That has to hit home for Harry Winks. He has to take that personally, and the fact that he's pushing for a move away, I don't think it's him thinking he's better than the club, or I don't think it's him making this decision on his own. I think he's ultimately being forced out by the lack of game time, and I'm sure he's been told behind the scenes as well that there isn't a place for him in this team, and that for himself it's probably better off that he left. I don't think we're losing much, which is disappointing, because he was a player that I'd identified as one a few years ago, like many people had, as one who could go on to be a very, very important player for Spurs throughout his career. But it looks like it's coming to an end, unfortunately. Dan Kilpatrick, well, it's coming to an end fortunately now, but back then we would hope it wouldn't have. That's why I said unfortunately. Kilpatrick also says that Tottenham are expected to listen to offers for Davinson Sanchez, Emerson Royal, Sergio Reguilon and Joe Rodon. We're going to take these one by one. Sanchez, very same as Harry Winks in my opinion. We thought he could be better. He's not in the team. Leave. It's as simple as that. He's rash. He can't be trusted. He's an athlete rather than a footballer, in my opinion. No, he's really quick. He's strong. He's powerful. He's good in the air, but you can't trust him with the ball at his feet. He can commit a foul at any point. He can get himself sent off, and when he's back there, there's just an extra part of you that's worrying a little bit more than you would when he's not there. And when he came on last night, I was terrified. I kind of accepted for a moment that Liverpool may turn the game around, but to be fair, he was quite solid last night. He didn't he didn't stand out like a sore thumb as he does sometimes. But for a player that we paid, what was it, £42 million for, he simply has not been good enough. He has not been good enough, and the sooner he leaves Tottenham, the better. And hopefully it will be this summer. Emerson Royale is a bit of a different situation, and one that maybe today isn't the best day to talk about him potentially leaving, because he was absolutely sensational last night. He was absolutely sensational. That even from that first tackle he made against Diaz in the opening minutes, and I was on the Just Joe football show doing a Premier League preview. I think it was on Thursday evening, and we were talking about the momentum, and the battle between Diaz/Robertson and Emerson was absolutely where Liverpool could have won that game. If they won that battle, they won the game, and it was a battle that it looked like they would win. But Emerson made that first challenge in the first minute, and that momentum and that confidence that goes into him with that first tackle and winning that first battle against the Colombian, that means a lot. And I think that did change the game for him and allow him to use that as a platform to push on and have a good performance. Defensively, he was very solid. There's a reason that Robertson was taken off for Chimicas early in the second half. Diaz, I know he scored, but it was from a very central area. He cut inside. I wouldn't hold that against Emerson at all. I thought Emerson was really good in possession. He was carrying the ball forward. He was helping us bypass that press. At times he was drawing fouls to relieve the pressure and give us 30 seconds to kind of relax. What I will say, the main criticism that we can put on him is the one that we've always put on him. There was 2 chances at 1-0 when he got in down the right hand side to put it on a plate for Son, and he lifted the cross and ended up overhitting it when I feel a cross along the ground would have been a simple goal for Son. So despite the fact that he did have a really, really good performances, I think there were moments there where he could have won that game for us, and it fell just a little bit short. Not taking away from the fact that it was a very, very good performance, but in the same breath, we've done it too many times in this football club where players haven't been good enough. They've underperformed. They've been weak. They've been, their mentality hasn't been where we wanted it. They've cost us games. Then they have one good performance and we keep them. And we think they're this new player that we think they're going to be the best player in our team. And look, the double against Leicester for Steven Bergwijn in January, I think, is the perfect example of that. And we've heard reports in the last couple of weeks that is the reason he didn't join Ajax in January. And ultimately, how has that benefited us? He only played a couple of games since. I don't think he scored since that game against Leicester. So Emerson, I think we need to look at this season as a whole and realise that he's just not good enough. And even if his defensive attributes, I think, are underrated by Spurs fans, and I think at times he is an easy scapegoat. I think he is better defensively than a lot of people give him credit for, but he's not good going forward. And in an Antonio Conte team, as potentially with those 2 chances to put Son in last night, it can cost you, and it did cost us. So I think Emerson to go is still the best option for us right now. Recoup a lot of that £30 million that we paid for him, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I think we will be looking to sign a right wing back this summer. Doherty has improved a lot. Maybe Emerson is one that needs to go. On the other side then, Sergio Reguilon. Have we seen him play his last game in a Spurs jersey? I think we may have. Antonio Conte, as we'll get on to in a minute, has said that he could be out for the rest of the season, but Reguilon was a player that absolutely should have thrived in an Antonio Conte system. And I remember Fabrizio Romano saying it when Conte came in, that he felt Reguilon could become one of the best left backs in the world under Conte, and it just hasn't happened for him. I know he's got a couple of goals, he's got a couple of assists, but he's not consistent enough, and he's not enough of a threat on the front foot to warrant keeping him in this Conte side. Even if it is just a season more that we have with Conte, we need to give him the best tools possible, and I don't think Reguilon is that at left back. Personally, for me now, Sessegnon is a better option out on the left, and given the injury trouble Sessegnon has had, the lack of game time, and really not being an out and out left wing back, I think he is more of an advanced player. The fact that Sessegnon is a better option than Reguilon, I think, speaks volumes. And again, Sessegnon played very well last night on the front foot, did let us down a little bit. I thought his end product could have been better. But for Reguilon, this time last year, it seemed that the worst thing in the world that Real Madrid would trigger that €45 million option to bring him back to the club. But now I'm thinking, God, I'd take 30. I really would. And it's upsetting because I love Reguilon. He's such a good character. You can see how much he loves the club. You know, we've seen many times the Conte cam when he's celebrating these goals, and Reguilon is the player out there jumping on top of him, hugging him. Or in that victory against Leicester, he was the one running down the line before Bergwijn even put the ball in the back of the net. So I think there is a love for the club there from Reguilon, but unfortunately we need to stop being sentimental, and we need to start playing players for the fact that they're good enough to be in this team, and they're good enough to get us back into the Champions League for starters, and then hopefully push on from there. And as Brian says there, Reguilon lacks confidence. I do feel that is the case as well. he has all the attributes, but for some reason it's just not happening for him. And like Ndombele, like Lo Celso, like so many other players that have been and gone at Spurs, their quality and their potential ability isn't enough when they've had the chance for a couple of years at the club and they haven't been able to show that in the football pitch. You know, I've no doubt that if Reguilon, if he goes back to Spain or if he goes to France or Germany, there's a very, very good career there for him. There absolutely is. He's a quality player, but it's just not happening at Spurs, and we need to cut our losses, and we need to get someone in there who can be good enough. And the last player there we mentioned is Joe Rodon. The only thing I can say on that is what I've said so many times before. There's a reason that 3 or 4 managers now haven't played him in the team. We don't know what that reason is. I would assume it's something that we see in training or something on a mentality standpoint. But Joe Rodon isn't getting in this team. Sell him. You know, maybe it will be better if we gave him the chance. But if managers aren't going to put him in the team, there's no point in him being there. And I wouldn't be too upset to see him go this summer. Dan Kilpatrick also says that Lucas Moura and Matt Doherty may also be free to leave the club. For me personally, I think that would depend on incomings, and I do expect us to sign an attacking player this summer. I think that will be a swap for Steven Bergwijn, and then depending on what else we can do in the window, I think that could decide Lucas Moura's future. But Matt Doherty, it could be if we get in one wing back, which is the easier to sell between Emerson and Matt Doherty. You know, again, Doherty for the most part hasn't been good, but before that injury for 4 or 5 games he was absolutely massive, and we can see how we've missed him since then, which is very strange to say given the opening year and a half that he had at Tottenham. But I think those will be ones that will be decided probably later on in the window. And one that we've mentioned a few times and will be probably the first departure from Spurs is Steven Bergwijn, and we know he was very close to joining Ajax, and Mike Verwij, the Dutch journalist, was very, very vocal on this, how Ajax wanted it to happen. Erik ten Hag, which is a very important point in this, Erik ten Hag was the man who was really pushing for that signing, and there have been a few rumours since ten Hag was announced as Man United manager that he could make a move to Manchester United. I don't think that'll happen for Bergwijn, and to be honest, I don't think ten Hag would be looking at Steven Bergwijn as a player to bring to United. He'd be looking at a much higher level of footballer, and I don't think Bergwijn can be too aggrieved by that. But Fabrizio Romano says the plan around Steven Bergwijn and his future has not changed. He wants regular game time, and that's why he's expected to leave Tottenham in the summer. Ajax are still interested, but they're not the only club. Open race, it will take time before he leaves. Charlie Eccleshare has said that Spurs are expected to accept lower fees than previously on players who want to leave in order to finance the large number of players they want to bring in. These players include Steven Bergwijn and also Giovanni Lo Celso and Tanguy Ndombele. So Tottenham very keen to get Steven Bergwijn off the books to make room, first of all, and to finance potential moves for players in. The Athletic as well have said there is a consensus among those close to Bergwijn's situation at Spurs that he will leave this summer. One well-placed source believes that Bergwijn will 100% leave. And we've spoken a lot about this in the channel, so I'm not going to dive too much into it, but it started a lot better than it continued for Steven Bergwijn at Spurs. I think it was his first 4 games at White Hart Lane. He scored. He had that winner against Manchester City on his debut, which was incredible. The volley from the edge of the box. It was a wonderful moment for us, and part of that incredible form against City, where they can't seem to get anything against us. So it promised to be a lot for Steven Bergwijn, but he hasn't pushed on since then. And like I said with Winks, with Rodon, with Sanchez, he's not getting in the team. And I know he's an important option off the bench for us. You know, last night I was surprised that he was on the sideline for 2 or 3 minutes before anything happened, but he was on the pitch maybe 30 seconds. He nearly got in behind. If it wasn't Virgil van Dijk in that position, there was a goal scoring opportunity there. But ultimately, Van Dijk is the best defender in the league at the moment, and you're not going to get past him one-on-one, no matter who you are, no matter how much pace you have. But Bergwijn had that immediate impact, and against Leicester, he can be a good player from the bench, but it's not worth having, first of all, paying a player to try and be an impact player, and having a player in the squad that can't get into the starting team, because you lose that chance to rotate, you lose the chance to freshen up the squad when it's needed. And what I'd rather have is a player there who can compete for that first spot with Dejan Kulusevski or with Son if we need to rotate, or if it is actual competition for that first side. That's what we need there, and Bergwijn unfortunately just won't offer that. Luke says, the thing is, if Stevie stays next season, he will get a lot more game time, as we will be back in a lot of competitions. He is quality. It would be a real shame if he left. And look, that's a good point. You know, that result last night confirmed that we'll be in at least the Europa League next season. So we are confirmed now to be finishing above Manchester United and West Ham United. So it is minimum 5th for Tottenham, which is progress from last season, which on the base of it is good to see. So maybe there will be more game time there, but I don't think Bergwijn is creative enough to be a good player. If, for example, we rotate, take Kane and Son out of that team and start Bergwijn on a Wednesday or Thursday night, whatever it is, I don't think he has enough to be the creative sparker, to be that main man in the front line to actually get us victories. And that's been the problem we've had in Europe in the last couple of years since we dropped out of the Champions League, because we rotate so much in those games against what we class as lesser opposition. Despite the fact that I do think you're looking at us against Lask or up against Antwerp or Mora, who we somehow lost to. The quality of player, man for man, Spurs have always been better. But despite lacking the cohesion and the chemistry, there was never any creativity in that squad. And what we need is a player who can come in there and be that creative spark. I don't think that's going to be Steven Bergwijn, unfortunately. And I do agree it would be a shame if he left, but I'd rather he stayed and was good for Spurs, but I just don't think it's the best option for us at the moment, which again is unfortunate. So move on quickly to some lesser or unknown reliability reports. So for anyone who is new to the channel, what I try to do is focus the majority of these streams, as we have done the first 25 minutes here, on the stories from the reliable sources. So not just spewing out every rumour that is there, speak about what is most likely right and is most likely realistic. And what we do at the end then, just to give you a bit of an idea what else is out there, I'll just rattle off these headlines from other sources. And do stick around, because after that as well, we're going to talk about the game last night. But these reports from the lesser or unknown reliability sources. We have Football Insider, who claim that there's a confidence at Spurs that they can sign Pau Torres below his £55 million release clause this summer. Villarreal are expected to cash in. 90 Minutes say there could be a raid of Villarreal. They say Tottenham officials were present in both legs of Villarreal's Champions League defeat to Liverpool to keep a watchful eye over transfer targets Pau Torres and Arnaut Danjuma. Mail Sport have said that Tottenham have been given encouragement in their pursuit of Pau Torres, with the defender now ready to leave Villarreal. Spurs watched him in action against Liverpool on Tuesday, and on the point of defenders, Mail Sport have also said that RB Leipzig's Josko Vardiol is number one centre-back target, although they are wary of the competition they will face for his signature. Tutto Juve have said that Tottenham will battle it out with Juventus to sign Marc Cucurella this summer, the left-back from Brighton. Daily Mail have said that Tottenham Hotspur are now targeting Atalanta wing-back Joachim Mele, a wonderful player who had a brilliant Euros for Denmark last summer and one that I'd love to see at Spurs. Santi Ovala have said that Tottenham have asked about him before, but Ousmane Dembele didn't consider them as an option. The final one on incomings is from Neo Bianco Celesti. They say that Tottenham want to sign Milinkovic-Savic this summer. Conte really wants the player, and the club want to back him with the signing of the Lazio midfielder. And a few others in terms of outgoings. Mundo Deportivo have said that Villarreal's idea is to keep Lo Celso on loan for another year, particularly as Tottenham are not willing to sell for less than €50 million. The player feels more comfortable in La Liga and has become a key player there. Fichajes, a Spanish outlet, say that Sevilla have entered the race to sign Giovanni Lo Celso. Villarreal are also interested in making it permanent. The midfielder wants to remain in Spain. Tottenham value him at 25 million, so much less fee quota there than Mundo Deportivo. And they've also said that Antonio Conte has started to draw up a title-winning team at Spurs. He wants to sign Jose Jimenez, Milan Skriniar, Denzel Dumfries, Marc Cucurella, James Ward-Prowse and Victor Osimhen, which I think is one of the most ridiculous reports I've ever read. You know, if they're going to sit there and be able to know them at the six-man list that Antonio Conte has put together, we might as well pack it in. We might as well give it up. Because if our whole transfer business is out there, well, that's ridiculous. It's an outrageous report. A few other little stories to get to as well. A few quotes from Antonio Conte. On Sergio Reguilon, he said that he's not available. He hasn't had a training session with us. I honestly don't know. There's only 2 weeks whether it is possible for him to come back. And on Dejan Kulusevski, he said he is on loan, but it is like a deal. He is a Tottenham player 100% in every aspect. Not officially, but he is 100% a Tottenham player. So confirming that Tottenham will make that loan deal for Kulusevski permanent this summer. There's a clause there. I think it's the €25 million to make that permanent. It's an absolute no-brainer. For the club to pull that one off. But yeah, look, this game last night. By the way, anyone who is in the chat, we have 168 votes in a poll in the live chat whether or not you want me to do a watch along for the Arsenal Leeds game at 2 p.m. I think if it's about 70% or more, we'll go ahead with the watch along. But please do let me know that poll in the live chat if you want me to do that. I will be wearing a Leeds jersey. But yeah, on that game last night, it was such an outstanding performance from us. Not in a footballing sense, you know, we were sloppy in possession at times. I thought Rodrigo Bentancur should have had a much better game. I thought Cudi Romero put us in a few difficult positions. I thought the link up between Kane and Son wasn't there in the first half. I thought Son was quite poor, but it was perfect in the sense that it was a Conte performance. And I put out a tweet before the game, which I'm actually just going to read out now. Pretty much all I wanted from the game. I said, this is a massive chance to show that Antonio Conte's Tottenham is an Antonio Conte team. We need passion, desire, and strong mentality. We need to leave absolutely everything out on the pitch. We need 3 points. And to get 2 out of 3 of that list is a lot more than I was expecting before kickoff. We had desire, passion, and mentality. We did leave everything out on that pitch, and we just fell short of those 3 points that I really thought we deserved. Liverpool, as they typically do against us, with a very lucky goal. That deflection, Bentancur, I've seen a few people say he just dangled a leg at it. He was far away from it. He was just trying to block off that corner. It was unfortunate the way it came off his studs and wrong-footed Hugo Lloris. I did think that was just bad luck. But Spurs, from the first minute, defended absolutely incredibly. Absolutely incredibly. And that block from Ben Davies, the Mohamed Salah shot just before Liverpool got their equaliser, I celebrated that like a goal. And I think this is kind of the different side of my footballing appreciation that has come having seen Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte in charge of the club. But every single ball that was into that box, Christian Romero was winning the header. Eric Dyer was commanding the defence so well. Ben Davies was absolutely fantastic. And I thought maybe Emerson deserved the man of the match more than Ben Davies, but I still don't think Davies didn't deserve it, if that makes sense. Emerson and Sessegnon, from a defensive point of view, were absolutely fantastic. Mohamed Salah did nothing. It felt as though he wasn't there for the majority of that game. We've already spoken quite a bit about Emerson. Højbjerg was superb, and in that second half, the counter-attacking was so dangerous. We really should have scored more. And the fact that we're coming out of this game against Liverpool, or me personally, not annoyed at the point, but frustrated that it wasn't more. I'm still always going to be happy going to the home of one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world, and coming away from there with a point. But it just felt like we were so close to more, and it's weird saying that, especially given in the last 10 minutes I was just waiting for Liverpool to get their winner. It's just what they do to us. It was such a relief that Firmino wasn't fit and wasn't able to come off the bench. But as Lane there says, the fact is, if we had better wing backs, we win that game, and that is the sad truth of it. But if we're looking at the assets purely at the disposal of both managers, it was an incredible setup by Antonio Conte. And Klopp can say what he wants. Klopp can be as salty as he possibly wants. The simple truth is, his team were the second best in that pitch last night. They may have had 60 or 70% possession, but they did nothing with it. There was no clear-cut chances to score for them, aside from a few shots from distance and that very dodgy Sessegnon header in the first half. They never really threatened. We always looked comfortable at the back, and we were blocking every shot, blocking every cross, winning every 50-50 in the defensive area. It's just strange that for us it was kind of a lack of cohesion in that front line across the first half that took away a few chances for us to get an even earlier goal and maybe to go into the break leading. But the goal that we scored was really well worked. We played out from the back absolutely fantastically at times. I've already mentioned with Emerson, but with Romero at times, he was playing really clever balls into Dejan Kulusevski, and they were risky passes, which a couple of times nearly cost him. There was that one that he hit straight into Sadio Mane that he had to recover himself. That was a very nervy moment, but it was a very risky but very brave approach from Antonio Conte, and I personally loved it. I can understand why people would rather we just hoofed the ball up the pitch and got rid of the danger, but as Conte was saying in his press conference or in his interview after the game, what we needed to do to score there wasn't hoof the ball high up the pitch and hope to win it, because Van Dijk and Canate up there, they'll win every aerial battle no matter who you're against, but it was to bypass that Liverpool press, and he found the perfect way to do it, and it was to get Kulusevski to sit in front of Robertson, Romero get that ball in the right centre-back position and just fire it into his feet. And it's that passing range from Christian Romero that came into full effect last night. We know he can do that, but he's never really had the chance to do it in a way that he could affect a game like he did last night. And because he was sloppy in possession, I think it could have even gone more better for us with that tactic. But I'm still not going to criticise any of those players for what they did last night. Trying to looking back here through a few of my tweets just to get what I actually thought about the game. Fabinho, by the way, how he wasn't sent off, I will never know. Aside from the fact that he elbowed Son in the face, he committed 3 or 4 tactical fouls before he ever got a yellow card. It was the 79th minute when he was booked. Genuinely do not understand how Fabinho was not sent off. It was strange refereeing. I do think some decisions went their way, some decisions definitely went our way, so I'm not going to blame the ref for a result, but it was a poor performance from him. Tony Young says we were solid last night and away from home. Absolutely. I mean, we all would have taken that before the game. Sue says, Klopp's salty tears are a compliment. I love that. Jack Lucas says, "Hi Matt, hope you're well. Great channel, mate. I appreciate that, Jack. I hope you're well as well." Luke says Conte's an absolutely world class coach. He is, and I know a lot of people were saying it when you're looking at the way Conte was talking about that game during the week. He was absolutely relishing the chance to come up against something like that. And I forget where I saw it or who said it, but and I apologise if to the person who did say this, but how much Conte was relishing the chance to come up against the likes of Klopp and Guardiola. That's surely going to come into his mind if he does have to make a decision on his future this summer. Chris has become a member, joining the Premier League club. Chris, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. All that support in the channel never goes unnoticed, so thank you so much for hitting that button. Anyone else, if you do want to become a member to support the channel, hit that join button just below. And while you're down there, do make sure to like the stream and subscribe as well. But yeah, Conte, if he has a decision to make, if he gets an offer from PSG, for example, which I think we're expecting at the moment. Yes, it's a guaranteed league title for him. It's a guaranteed French Cup for him. Is it a guaranteed Champions League? I really don't think so, because PSG, like Man City, just seem to have this mental block when it comes to the Champions League. But Conte likes a challenge, and managing in the French league as the PSG manager, with Mbappe signing that new contract, with Lionel Messi expected to stay for another year, with Neymar essentially just coasting along and happy to play there, I think there's no challenge there for him. And I don't think that will appeal to his competitive side at all. So maybe that could be something that comes into our favour if he has a decision to make this summer. But last night we saw the best of Antonio Conte, and I think, as we mentioned with the wingbacks a few minutes ago, if Conte gets what Conte needs, if Conte gets what Conte wants, and if he gets a solid squad, there's success there for Tottenham with that manager. And I think there's been a few moments in the last couple of months where I think Conte has proven to Daniel Levy how much he needs to back him, and I think last night was another one of those nights. And we look now ahead to Arsenal on Wednesday, which is an absolutely huge game. Again, poll in the chat if you want me to do a watch along for Arsenal Leeds today, wearing a Leeds jersey, let me add. Please do vote in that poll. We're currently on 64% yes, so I think at the moment we're going to do it. But do let me know in that poll as well. But that game against Arsenal is absolutely huge, and the fear was that losing last night to Liverpool and Arsenal beat Leeds today, all of a sudden the gap is 5 points, and we're playing them to try and get back into the race. And even if we did beat them, it was still in their hands and it was still theirs to win or lose. But I think that point is a massive point that makes a massive difference. Again, look, that opinion could change if Arsenal do pick up 3 points, kind of as we'd expect today against Leeds. But after they play us, they go to St James's Park, and that is far from a guaranteed 3 points at the moment. You know, Liverpool only won by a goal there last week. I think City will struggle against Newcastle today, but Newcastle will have an 8-day rest going into that game. Arsenal only 4 after playing what I'm sure will be a very intense game against us on Thursday. So that point picked up last night for us, coupled with potentially 2 points dropped for Arsenal against Newcastle, is going to be tough. Or is going to be huge. Jack there says, I thought Spurs against Arsenal was Thursday. It is Thursday. I apologise if I said another day. But it is 7:45 on Thursday evening. So, look, massive point for Spurs last night. Could be made even more important if Leeds can get a result against them today. But we're going to have a look at the poll. We're going to do it. We're going to do a watch along. We'll go live at, we say 1:45, so we'll give it an hour. And we'll go live again for that. Look, it will be a lot of Spurs chat. There's no doubt about that, but we will go live for that Leeds Arsenal game. Do make sure to come back for that. If you want to make sure you don't forget, hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell so you get notified when I do go live for that game. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. I really do appreciate it. We have nearly 300 people watching live right now, which I'm hoping is only the beginning of what will be a massive summer. Like I said, we got these graphics back. I'm going to improve this whole setup. I got my new PC, so we have we've a lot of wiggle room to make this setup better, to get guests onto these streams. So please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you're looking forward to it as well. Back at 1:45 to watch Leeds win at the Emirates Stadium, hopefully. But for now, and as always, thanks so much for watching.